you have to wait until the light and you can't tell. I hate things on my ears. So me and hats have never gotten along. You know? Anyway. Cup of coffee. So that sausage, turns out Google is your friend. I checked the wording that wasn't in English but was using English script, and it's specifically designed to make the aspic jelly that you use for soup dumplings. So, and I'm not supposed to bend at the waist, but ow, I accidentally knocked it out of the refrigerator an hour ago. It made jelly. Okay, so I will probably actually buy it in the future. Blech. But I think that I will watch for one that isn't frozen rock solid because it was at the end of its pull date to begin with. And cook it with some seasonings to hide the... I'm trying to get you into the visual. It made Jell-O. That's its purpose. Because Jell-O is a meat product, and Americans don't like to admit that they're eating a meat product when they eat Jell-O. Americans lie to themselves about a lot of things. Anyway, I will probably buy it in the future because I like soup dumplings. But I will cook it with some garlic and some onion powder and some 5-spice powder and just flavor the shit out of it. The reality is this one, though, has that overwhelming smell of rancid meat fat that comes from freezer food that's been frozen too long. And Asian grocers have a tendency of taking something that's at the end of its lifespan, marking it down and throwing it in the freezer. We know this. We buy it anyway because 90% of the time it's fine. And had I made that on a good day week set, I'd have adapted and adopted. I'm not having a good day week set right now. I'm nauseated. Spiking a fever every other... I sleep in like 3 sets at night, and I'm spiking a fever 1 out of 3. Why is the cheese grater there? We put these panels in the lower window so that people can't see in at night. We have blinds. We could drop the blinds. The problem is we're on a main road. And if I drop the blinds, then every person walking by triggers my, what was that? What was that? What was that? And peeking out the blinds is kind of stupid. So we put the blinds to here, and then we put the panels to here, and even if you're across the road looking in, you can't see us. You can see our cupboards. Okay? You can see the Hello Kitty. So we put those in at night so that you can still see out, because there's street lights out there and it never gets dark out there, and there's people walking 24/7, and I need to take a look and make sure they're not in my yard. You know, adapting. Anyway, if you're on my Facebook feed, if you're in my life, then you know that we're coming up on a major COVID spike, right? These are my true and honest thoughts about COVID. There is a not zero chance, probably under 5% chance, that the Chinese were pissed off at Trump, found this novel virus, and cried wolf to see if the rest of the world would follow. Maybe 5% chance. Because the Chinese economy could absorb it. They can lock down. They give their citizens money. And in that scenario, COVID is really honestly only dangerous to really unhealthy people and old people who are really unhealthy. And that almost tracks with the data, almost. It's a cold. For most people, it's a really bad cold. There was a flu that went around when we lived in Pennsylvania. It was a dog flu that almost killed me. That everybody got sick that year. And it was a flu that lasted the solid 3 weeks of puking and vomiting and body aches and pains and diarrhea and bronchial cough. Everybody got sick. You'd go to the store and the barking coughs from various corners of the store, and everybody looked like death warmed over. I mean, it hit 85% of the population in a 1 month period of time. And 70,000 people died of the flu that year. And I was almost one of them. It took me 6 months to get over that shit. Okay. So had that been the novel virus that China had used, people would have believed it. Because they got sick. And people would have obeyed the rules. But this is a virus that 90% of people are asymptomatic or mild symptoms. It's just a cold. Unless you have too much melanin in your skin, you're too dark, or you have health problems, lung problems, heart problems, then it's a killer. Okay. I don't think China cried wolf. They're now showing that the virus was in China in November, not December. I personally know somebody in Bellingham, Washington, who is diagnosed with contracting the virus a month before it's supposed to have been there. Okay, he was sick all of December. And he can track the Chinese business person he got it from, and when the business meeting was, and the 3 other co-workers who got sick. And yeah, okay. The virus was around for a solid month before China noticed it. Add to that, everything says that there are technically 2 COVID-19s. There is the Chinese COVID-19 that came to the United States via the West Coast, and there is the European COVID-19, which came into Italy before it came anywhere else. There is documentable, traced evidence that they are following that the first COVID-19 was actually a COVID-18, but we won't talk about that, and started in Denmark. That whole culling of the minks, yeah, it started there 6 months before it started anywhere else. Anyway, what do I think of it now? Understand that, I worked at USS Asmrid. Sorry, there's a pheasant. That's gotta be a pheasant. There's a big brown bird in the neighbor's yard, and the neighbor don't have chickens. Ha! It flew. It's a pheasant. So somewhere around here are pheasants. Huh. Anyway, they're a very small immature turkey. It could be a small immature turkey. Pheasants will fly singularly. Turkeys are usually in flocks. Anyway, I worked USS Asmrid. Virology has always been a passion of mine, an amateur passion, but a passion of mine as a medical person. Pathology. I love following the path of a disease, what it does, how you track it, all that stuff. I worked a hot zone in college. I at one point had the paperwork and badge and everything to shut down an airport if I needed to. It was awesome. We almost did. Anyway, this is something I've always been passionate about. If you've ever sat with me in a place where I feel comfortable and gotten me talking, it will turn to bubonic plague. Or dengue. Or Lassa. Or any of the class 4 and class 5 biohazards. Okay? Is COVID a class 4, class 5? No. Absolutely not. Should not be a problem. We should have stopped this within 6 weeks. The problem is nobody ever did the tracking and the math on plague in the internet era. Because it's really, really easy to shut down a city when the only news is the local newspaper and the newspaper's coming in by boat or by plane. Nobody knows what's going on and everybody trusts the government and the public health. And in the internet era, everybody became their own little expert. Everybody thinks that they know better. And most don't know jack shit. We all know that. They just don't know jack shit. So, the lack of information when there should be information has been a huge issue. The lack of formal, trackable information when there should be information has been a huge issue. But too much information has been a bigger issue. Too much untrackable, unprovable speculation presented as fact information has been a huge issue with this. And right now we are at the point where a solid 25 to 30% of the population thinks that they should actively spread this if they can. They're having COVID parties. And then they're lying to the reporters about it. And the fact that people keep coming up with references to COVID parties, and there was a Facebook group from a church talking about going down to the waterfront to the poor homeless camps and praying for them, and don't wear a mask, and if you're sick, let so-and-so know so we can get you up front and personal. They're spreading it deliberately to people they don't like. Is that happening in other countries? I don't know. But in other countries, they're having protests to lockdowns. Lockdowns have always been the only way to control disease. Okay? It's what we have in our arsenal. Okay? They talk about these vaccines like they're going to solve everything. 90% is zero. 90% won't do anything. The Madeiras, that's 94%. Still, 6% is still too much. Okay? You need to get to 97% coverage to have it work. And they can't prove that you won't need a booster every 6 months. They don't know if you're going to need a booster every 6 months. Imagine having to go in and get a vaccine every 6 months. How fast will people fall off on that one? So we had Election Day, which everyone knows was a super spreader event, right as this was starting to spike up again. So you're going to take how we were spiking and you're going to at least magnify it by 10, at least, probably by 60. Then we have Thanksgiving. Then we have Christmas. Then we have New Year's. And all of the fucking plague rats in your life are going to be congregating and having fun. And posting photos of they're having fun, and you're going to feel left out as you're sitting at home like I am. I have left the house once since February 27th. And that was because Hawaii would not get me my absentee ballot in time, and I cried at the person with Oregon, because you're supposed to get an appointment and wait 6 months and blah, 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 blah. And my ballot, blah, 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 blah. And the husband called and all kinds of stuff, and they slipped me in first thing in the morning, and I got my ballot. Because I wasn't going to not vote. You know? Anyway. The least you can do is wear a mask and use hand sanitizer. That's the least you can do. China is tracking it on packages and in packages. So getting food delivered, questionable. Getting groceries delivered, questionable. Going to the grocery store, questionable. These are the times you're supposed to have a gear of food supplies. that nobody has, not even the people who think they do. Because they're the ones going and buying all the toilet paper just to spite you. It's been 15 minutes. It's gonna suck. It's really gonna suck. You know, I put my teeth in just to see how it looked and how badly I lisped. I may put them in more often because I haven't been wearing them and I need to be wearing them, you know? Anyway, I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.